Hi, my name is Parven Kaur, and I'm the founder of Kids and Cliques, which is a web resource that aims to help children grow up confidently with technology. My own personal journey is that I'm a 1990s kid. I grew up chatting on MIRC and ICQ on dial up network connections with big monitors and big keyboards. As a child, when I was growing up, even then, 20 years back, I was chatting to random strangers online. I was doing it without even realizing it because we had no name for it and we had no terms for it. And there are many times where I would be chatting with people much more older than me, people from places I really don't know, who would try to pry into my own private life and try to get where I live and my address, my school, and so on. Growing up, I was very innocent and I was very naive with all these things. My parents never taught me about, stranger danger online. I was taught about it about in the real world. So, one day my chat room was open and my brother came across one of my conversations and said, "You should not be doing this or be chatting to the strangers online." Even though I had not given any personal or address or any of those type of information, he still thought that it was inappropriate. And and obviously, I have an older brother. I listened to him and then sort of not use any of those chat platforms after that. But it was definitely an experience which back then I don't know what it means. I don't know how dangerous it was. No one spoke about it and I didn't really care much about it until now, 20 years on. But fast forward, what has happened is that in the last 10 years I've been working in the digital marketing space, and I have always been sort of passionate about technology and how it evolves. Again, having an older brother who's obsessed about the latest gadgets and video games, Xbox, PlayStation, that kind of grew on me as well. So I choose to go into this line of work. And working in the digital marketing space has taught me two very important skills. Number one is the technical skill, which are the obvious things. How do you run a Facebook, advertisement? How do you create your own, blog, HTML, and all of that? You can learn all these things online, and they're practically free on YouTube. But the most important skill that I have learned is human behavior. While you create advertisements, while you try to create clickbaits, while you try to create viral videos, you start evolving and you start learning about what people like, what people dislike online, and how people engage online. I never, the last 10 years, I never thought much into what I was learning. But over the years, I started realizing and recognizing the skill that I have in me. And I was then very mindful about what I do and how I do it. You face challenges while you do this kind of work as well, because you create a title that people would click. It might not be the best title that you create, but it gets the clicks. And you start challenging your own sort of your own opinions, your own values, and your own beliefs in order to get those clicks. So those are type of the other soft skills that a lot of people do not talk about when we work in the digital marketing space. And then I got pregnant, and I then started being more mindful about the type of child I was going to raise in a digital world. I started reading about a lot of parenting books, what to expect when you're expecting, and those obvious books. But not too long ago, just about 3 years back, there wasn't that many books about digital parenting. Fast forward 3 years now. Yes, you go on Amazon, you type in this title, you get many books, many options, different authors, bloggers, and so on. But just about 3 years back, there was not many of this written. And whatever was written that I read about wasn't so relevant because technology just keeps evolving. It just keeps changing and we just have to keep learning. So then I started, writing about my own thoughts, about my own opinions. And obviously that all came with my work experience and why I think it's important for me to write about it. And so very early on itself, when I started writing about it got picked up by very big organizations in this niche. They liked what I was saying. I was real, I was original. And so they asked me to write for them. And from there is where Kids and Clicks came about. is through my own experience and me wanting it to share with others. So I believe this is very important because, I want my child to thrive in a digital world. I want her to be able to use it confidently. But before I want to speak more about the challenges that we as parents face, I would like us to take a step back and try to understand the online world that our children are navigating in. So I want you to think about the digital world as a real world. So if, for example, you are taking your child for a holiday, say you're taking your child to London, and you pack your bags and you're very excited about this holiday. You reach the airport, you hold your child's hand to ensure that he or she is safe. And then you show them the good bits of London, the museums, the London Eye, and so on, all those touristy attraction. You stay in a nice, safe location, obviously, that's what you choose for. And then you make sure that you don't go into areas or places where it's dangerous. So now, if you can think of the digital world as a real world, okay, think about what you do. When you hand over a device to your child and you don't guide your child and you don't hold your child to how to use that device, you're essentially leaving them in a city like London, go to the airport, and you tell them to roam around by him or herself. Would you ever do that? No. In the real world, you would never ever do that because there's just so much risk and danger about leaving a child in a city by his or her own self. The same thing. When you hand over a child a device, there's a lot of opportunities and good things, but there's a lot of dangers as well. And essentially, what you're doing is that then you're giving them that device and you're telling them to navigate it by themselves. You're telling them, find the good, but you know what? You never warned them about the bad. And when the bad comes, you don't know what to do then. So we need to start taking things more proactively when it comes to our child's online world. If we can treat the digital world like the real world, we can start then guiding our child in the right way as to how we can help them to do that. Now, what are some of the challenges that I think that we are facing right now so that we can, we need to recognize these challenges so that we can help our children navigate this world correctly. Some of the challenges that we face right now, number one, I think, is misinformation. Now, I'm not talking about fake news. It goes way beyond fake news. Fake news is when there's a truth and then you've got a lie and you're trying to find that truth. The problem with misinformation is that we just do not know what the truth is anymore because many of us get our source of news online, on social media. And the way this works is that we are being fed by what we want to believe to be right. You have a different set of facts than I do. And that makes it very hard to know what reality is. And that is the problem that not just children are facing, even we as adults are facing that big problem of misinformation right now. The second problem that we have is screen addiction. Now, when our children, are addicted to their devices, a lot of the time we see parents say, I don't know what to do. My child is addicted to Fortnite and so on. We need to understand how technology and how all these games are being created to give that addictive nature to it, the dopamine effect that our child gets from it, that instant reward. I post something and it goes viral. I post something and people like it, people comment on it. That everything else outside of this becomes boring because in the real world, we do not get instant rewards. And we need to understand that a lot of these apps, a lot of things that are designed online do not have children in mind when they were designing it. They were not, social media apps were not designed for children in mind. They were designed for adults to connect with each other, but they have an age rating of 13 years old, which I think is even inappropriate. Where does the age of 13 years old come from? It comes from a law known as COPPA, which is an advertisement law that says that companies cannot advertise to children below the age of 13 years old. So that means that it has even nothing to do with the content of the app or how addictive it can be for younger children who are using it. Hence, when we speak about screen addiction, before we tell our children that, that they need to stop being on their devices, we need to understand where that addiction comes from. Is it the flaw of how this technology are being designed, and it is us who hand over these devices to our children and then blaming them for being addictive? Or is that instant reward that our child gets from it? So we need to get the bottom of it with our children when we feel that they're being addictive. Now, I just want to make a clear distinction between screen time and screen addiction, because they're completely different. We need to stop looking at screen time. Rather, we need to start seeing it as content, what our child are doing online. Your child could be spending 2 hours online just passively scrolling or just watching YouTube, or your child could be coding and actively engaging online and being creative online. Those 2 hours spent are completely different, and we cannot equate that to be the same. Hence, we need to move on from the word screen time and rather be looking at the content that our child are looking at online and what they're actually doing online, especially now with the whole online learning. So, do not equate screen time with screen addiction. Screen addiction comes in when technology is affecting our everyday life. That means, it's affecting sleep, it's affecting eat, it's affecting mood, it's affecting real, interaction that our children have with their friends and so forth. So next, I would like to then speak about when it comes to screen time as well. There are some quite interesting facts that I think I would share with you. Average user tap, swipe, click on their phone 2,617 times a day. A person spends up to 1 hour and 16 minutes on social media. And a research said that an average person will spend more than 5 years of his or her life on social media. So that's quite a long time to spend your life on social media if this is real. So we go on to the next problem that I think we're facing right now. So we've got the problem of cyberbullying, of the problem of online pornography, sexting, and so on. Many of these issues occur in isolation, but one is enough for us to be aware about these issues. So we've got the other problems with our digital world. Actually, a recent research that actually came out just earlier this year alone is on sexual abuse images. 22,000 sexual abuse images appeared and being reported. 85% of them were of girls between the age of 11 and 13 years old. So can you just imagine about 18,000 of sexual abuse images of very young children? So that's another problem as well. But those are just sort of some of the challenges. Another challenge I would like to also mention, especially now that we are relying on online learning and Zoom and all of that with the pandemic, is digital divide. When we speak of digital divide, we've got one, which is the lack of access that students have. So the gap between those that have access to online learning and those that do not have access to online learning is becoming even bigger. So that's a problem. But when it comes to digital device, there's also a problem with those that have access but do not get guidance. That is another big problem as well. There's one thing having access to the good 4G internet that you have, to all these amazing things on the internet. But if children are not being guided on how to use it effectively, then that access really doesn't mean anything. And that's another big problem that we face. With parents having to work at home and everything is becoming very difficult. It's very easy to just hand over a device to our children, without really knowing what they're doing with that. So that's another problem that we're having right now. But here's the thing, right? Let's not forget that it's not doom and gloom growing up in a digital world. It's quite amazing. It's quite fascinating. The online world is the world of opportunity, friendship, connection, things that we couldn't do before when we were much younger, but our children have access to all of those things. So the question is really, how do we raise digitally resilient children? When we speak about digital resilience, that means children who are able to handle all the things that the online world puts out on them. It's about going beyond functional skills. It's about teaching children about being able to understand flow of information, who is using that information, what interest it is to other people, especially now with, political agendas, with conspiracy theories. These are important, crucial skills that our children need to be able to learn so that they know what is the truth and what is not. And it requires a lot of critical thinking skills. So, being digitally literate means being able to take advantage of all these opportunities that the online world and the internet gives them. It's about raising children who are not just passive consumers of the internet, but rather those who are actively engaging in it. So how do we do this? There are different levels to do this and different stakeholders who play an important role in making this happen. From a governmental role, I would say that here in the UK, just about maybe about from the last 5 years onwards, the government are being a lot more proactive on the need to empower children on their rights. So the UNCRC, which is the United Nations on the Rights of the Child, focuses on participation, protection, and provision for children. So it is not enough for children to be protected online. They should be able to actively engage online, and they should have a safe space for them to navigate online. And when we talk about school level, having sort of, one-off events on internet safety is not enough. This is a very important skill that our children need to learn. Just like how we teach them about moral values, we teach them about maths, physics, science, and so on. This is a skill they need to have in order for them to thrive in a digital future. If the one thing the pandemic has taught all of us is that technology is not going away anywhere. So we need to start embracing it, and we need to start teaching our children so that they can use it effectively. So for schools who are doing one-off events, please, we need to go way beyond all of that one-off events. It need to be embedded as part of their education. For social media companies, they need to be held accountable for the things that they do. Having, for example, age ratings that are appropriate based on content, not just based on advertisement laws. But social media is just one platform, one component of the internet. We need to remember that so many other components of the internet. You've got video gamings, online learnings, and many other things. But the point is that big tech companies need to start being held accountable for the things that they produce online, and we need to start putting pressure on all of this. Now comes the parents, and this is where it becomes very challenging. Obviously, parents are known to be the frontliners in all of this. While we hope for the government and for the school and for the social media companies, the tech companies to play their role and their part, we might be waiting for a long time for things like that to happen. And in the meantime, in our child's day-to-day life, we play an important role. But that role is very difficult when we have other challenges in our life, for example, work and juggling the other stresses that we have in our life. So what I would propose is that to all parents, find a community that works for you. Don't overwhelm yourself with all of this, because you can't do it alone. It is very, very hard to keep up with the changes in the digital world. It's almost impossible, because every day there's a new app. Every day there's a new social media challenge that goes crazy. Every day there are different sort of challenges and dangers and so on, that sometimes we even forget what the good of it is. A lot of time parents would say things like, oh, I'm so lucky I didn't grow up with mobile phones. I wish it was never invented. Unfortunately, it is being invented. We need to live with it, and we need to try to be help our children live with it effectively as well. But here's the thing, right? There are two skills that sort of parents need in all of this. One is the technical skill, and one is the nurturing skill. When we talk about the technical skill, that is when we need to keep ourselves updated with all these different, apps and things like that. But again, parents, don't do this on your own. Form a community and form a group where you can find help and support each other in this. So you can find communities and groups from your school. So for example, getting your school involved to form a parent forum session for things like this, where you can be updated when, when things, are happening, and, you can know what is going on in your child's lives. You can join online groups. For example, I run a private e-parenting group where I sort of share the latest online news and trends that parents should know about. There are other groups as well. Basically, there are resources out there to help you out, and you don't have to do it on your own because it is impossible. I do it as a full-time job, and I still find it challenging to keep myself updated every single day because it just evolves like this. After learning one app, suddenly there's another one, and I'm just like, how did this all of this happen in just 24 hours? I thought I just learned something new this morning and I have something else to learn again tonight. But the thing is that unfortunately we just have to put in the effort to learn that, and get the help so that you can ease the burden of this. The next thing I want to actually mention is that it is not just sort of these technical skills that you need to keep yourself updated with. At the end of the day, parenting is the same, whether it's parenting in the real world or it's parenting in the digital world. We are still parenting our children. We need to remember that nurturing skill that we need to reinforce with our children. We need to set the rules with them. We need to set boundaries. We need to let them grow with technology, and we need to allow them to make mistakes as well. This is like any other skill. It will take time for them to learn, and we should expect that some mistakes are going to be made. We just have to hope and keep reminding them of the dangers online so that the mistakes are just, not something that will leave a very negative footprint on their digital world. We need to go beyond that technical skill, but rather looking at a child as a whole, and digital is just part of their world now. Have regular conversation with your child so you can keep checking in on their feelings. Talk to them about things like kindness, which I'm sure you probably already do when you tell your child, oh, you need to be kind. Well, the same thing, you need to be kind in online communities as well. Teach them about mindfulness, being mindful about where they are, about who their friends are. Be mindful when they're just, aimlessly scrolling online. Use growth mindset activities so your child can sort of, exploit the opportunities of the online world, so that something when they read online does not affect them too much. Recent research actually showed that Instagram affected girls on things like body image and self-confidence. So we need to give them self-confidence so that they don't let an image that they see online upset them. Get them to have critical thinking skills so that, when, what they see online or what they read, and they can actually make sense of it. Build the habit in your child to always question what they see or what they read online. Basically, these are skills that we anyway teach our children. These are everyday skills, whether it's in school or whether it's at home, whether you consciously do it or whether you don't, you enforce these skills on your children. The only difference is that now we need to extend those skills to be part of their online and digital world. So, for example, teaching our children to stand up against bullies. But now we tell them, report bullies, block them, tell someone about it. So again, it's the same set of skills. What I want to say, is that do not be afraid of technology. Don't be afraid that these technical skills are putting you off from learning from it. The technical skills, you can learn it if you have the right group to support you to do it. Find that group, find that village that can help you with that. And you will thrive in this because you are still the parent of your child. You still have those life experiences that you want to pass on to your child as well, and they will learn a lot from you. If you think that your child is better than you are, because they know how to download an app and play online games, and you don't know how to do it, that is just a technical skill that your child have. but you have all the other skills that you need to teach them in the digital world as well. So you still need to be the parent for them in this. And this is a critical skill, and it's not going away, and our child needs it so that they can survive and thrive in this digital world that they're going to be growing up in. So that's all that I have to say about this. And I do hope that that you do enjoy this talk, and that you find that village that can support you through all of this, because you are not alone in this. We are all learning. We are all parenting in the digital age for the first time. Maybe for some of us a few years older, but for many of us, it's all first time learning. So don't be afraid. And if you think that your child knows better than you, well, you know what, they only know how to download an app and play games, and they know all the other technical skills, but you're still, you're still the parent in all of this. And don't forget, I'm still Parvin, that girl from 20 years back who had a brother to tell me something, someone older to guide me. And your child will need that guidance as well, whether it's from you or a trusted friend or a trusted adult. But you want your child to come to you whenever they have a problem, so that you can be that first line of help to them. And the only way to do that is to have that nurturing skill with them. Thank you, everyone.